Right. I'm off to deal with the fate of the planet. Be gentle with them.
Oh, you know me, Mark. Kid gloves, but made from real kids.
If my voice sounds kind of bad, that's because I was at church singing and basically shredded my vocal cords. Still, I'm trying to do this video. Okay, as you can guess by the title, I feel like I have to address something. And this is long overdue. But it feels like it is my time to share my view of Zack Snyder and how he fundamentally misunderstands Superman and how that changed the entire DCEU. Now let's be clear. I think Snyder is very good at adapting things to the big screen, at least visually. He's a very visual director through and through, and he clearly understands what works on an image level, and his strength lies in creating mood and spectacle. That's why I love 300 and Watchmen. These are stories where the heavy lifting is already done by the source material. Watchmen in particular is impressive because even with changes to the ending, the film still kind of communicates the same core critique of their superhero mythos, just like the graphic novel did for the comics, in my opinion. But this video isn't about Watchmen. This is about his Superman, about Man of Steel. If Snyder had simply been the visual director of the DCEU, the guy behind the camera, but not the guy plotting out all the arcs and themes, I wouldn't sit here and be making this video. But he was the creative spearhead, and I think he was the wrong person for the job. It's like it's like asking Garth Ennis to write an Avengers comic. You know, the guy who wrote The Boys graphic novel, whose most notable contribution is that he hates superheroes. And Garth Ennis is talented, yes, but absolutely the wrong fit. And this kind of is the same with Snyder. In my view, he fundamentally lacks a narrative instinct for what Superman is and what makes Superman stories great. His Superman doesn't feel like Superman for a couple of reasons. So let's break down into two parts on what I think Superman is supposed to be and what Zack Snyder and his defenders get wrong. And in the second part, I'm gonna explain why I think Man of Steel fails creatively, not just as a Superman movie, but also as an introduction to this new universe. Part 1. What Superman is and isn't, in my opinion. To start, I think we need to say something that often gets overlooked. Superman is really Clark Kent. He's not an alien trying to be human. He's a human who happens to be an alien. He was raised as a Kansas farm boy by two people who taught him kindness, empathy, and responsibility. The idea that Superman is some kind of detached space god completely misses the point, or it would be a better creative choice to do that kind of storyline later on. But here with Zack Snyder, this Superman doesn't pretend to be human. He is human emotionally, but general speaking, Clark Kent, Superman, he doesn't pretend to be human. He is human emotionally, morally, spiritually. And it's not his Kryptonian biology that defines him, it is his heart. And to reiterate my point here is Superman is Clark Kent first. Secondly, he's a farm boy with a strong sense of empathy and duty. And lastly, his defining trait isn't his strength or his alien origin, it's his kindness and altruism. Now this is often challenged in stories. Villains try to project their cynicism onto him. They can't believe that someone that powerful would just want to help. So for example, General Zod sees him as a potential warlord or rival in his plans. Like Luthor sees Superman as a threat to human independence, and Darkseid sees Superman as a pawn to be broken. But what makes Superman powerful, in my opinion, is, as a character, isn't that he wins those fights just by punching. It's that he refuses to let that cynicism define him. that he stays true to that kindness even when the world tells him not to. You see that best exemplified in the animated movie Superman vs. the Elite, or even just the graphic novel that came before with the same title, Part 2. What Zack Snyder gets wrong. Zack Snyder, in my opinion, falls into this category of the villains that misunderstand Superman. You know, he's kind of at that same level just as a real person. And in his opinion, apparently, Superman needs to be elevated because just being a good guy isn't compelling enough for him. So instead of starting from the idea that Superman is Clark Kent trying to do the right thing, he leans hard into that messiah complex with his imagery, and Snyder doesn't seem interested in exploring what it means to be Superman. Instead, he skips ahead to what it looks like to be Superman, floating Christ poses, monumental imagery, more weight so heavy it breaks the character's back. It's Superman as an icon, not Superman as a person. And I think that's never been really an angle with Superman character, and this is here the problem. You can't deconstruct something that isn't there, you know. You can't deconstruct an angle that doesn't exist. He gives us a Superman who's lost, burned, and unsure of his place in the world. And this is on paper all fine, you know, but we never see him becoming really anything else. We never see the joyful Superman, the inspirational one. It's all guilt, conflict, and imagery. And where Man of Steel really falls apart for me is in the narrative choices, specifically with Zod. Now, Zod is often portrayed as a fanatic, a soldier to the end. He's committed to restoring Krypton at any cost, but he's also a warlord, you know. He represents the Kryptonian military and what they could do aggressively. And in Snyder's script, he has Zod choosing to transform and terraform Earth into a new Krypton, even though it would erase his physical advantages that give him and the other Kryptonians their edge. And this feels like a contradiction in my opinion, because I'm here asking myself, why would Zod, now practically a god on Earth, willingly give it up? It doesn't seem to fit with the introduction characterization of Zod. And wouldn't it make more sense to, instead of rebuilding Krypton, carve out an empire with this newfound superiority? This is a question you can answer in the comments. Feel free to do that. Instead, Man of Steel we get a spectacle heavy final with massive destruction but little thematic cohesion. It feels big but not earned. The visuals are striking, yes. As I said multiple times in this video, Zack Snyder is good at creating imagery, convincing imagery that falls apart upon deeper inspection. The story stakes are high in the final, but the story doesn't land because the emotional foundation is missing, in my opinion. And Superman ends the film snapping Zod's neck in a moment that is supposed to be morally complex. I come around to understanding the scene now, but do I like it? The answer is still no. I still think there were various other ways to deflate the situation, and this moral complexity feels like the final step in transforming Superman into just another conflicted superhero. It robs him of the creative idealism that makes him unique, and we never really get that exploration further down the line in other films. I think that might be because of pressure from Warner Brothers or the personal tragedy that happened to Zack Snyder while he was making the Justice League film. I don't know. I'm just asking questions and explaining my thoughts here. Final thoughts. I'm not saying Superman stories should never evolve or explore darker themes. But there's a line between challenging an idea and not understanding it. In my opinion, Snyder didn't challenge Superman. He rewrote him into something fundamentally different, into something colder, lonelier, more epic, but less human. And that's where he loses me. Because Superman, when done right, isn't a god among men. He's a man who just happens to be also sort of a god. He chooses to be good every day because he was raised to be good. And that's the Superman that many people love, me included. That's the Superman who inspires, and that's the Superman I hope we see in the new film by James Gunn. Thanks for watching.
Don't forget to subscribe.
Now get the fuck out of my driveway.